The legend of Zorro has captured man's imagination for hundreds of years now. Story about this incredible swashbuckler, this Errol Flynn, but not of the pirates, but of Mexico, that went and tried to free Mexico from the Spanish. He was indeed, back during then, California and Arizona and even into Texas was ruled by Spanish, and till that was clarified later along with the Louisiana Purchase. But we're not going into that part of history today. What we're talking about is Zorro himself, and this swashbuckler, known as being a great swordsman, and all of the things that come from it. You know, we used to have a 1950s TV show that had what was his name? Guy Williams, and he was the same man that played in Lost in Space. He was the father of Lost in Space, if you'll remember. Recently, we had Antonio Banderas do a show on it, and Antonio was pretty much given that because of his role in Shrek as Puss in Boots, which also is an inspiration from this same Zorro. And so let's look into this and see what we can find about Zorro himself. Now, in Spanish, Zorro means red fox, and it's believed that his name was given to him because of his cunning, his ability to get away. You know, you hear about all the fox hunts they try to catch. It was a great predator to try to catch because, man, that guy can get away. And so there was always, in the TV show that you saw, there was always a way that, boom, he got away and jumped out a window and roped his way down, or went through an awning and landed on his horse, and a lot of those things come from there. And indeed, there was a lot of stunt work in those shows. But why would they choose a red fox? And there's something unique to that I'll show you. Now, Zorro was known as, it's been tracked down now, and they found out that Zorro was a man who was named Guillermo, okay? And Guillermo Lombardo. And a lot of research was done into this that said that he was the inspiration for all of this, and his actions and what that he did. And he was kind of the first superhero of America. And his incredible exploits, where he would come in and just wreck things, and always thought that he must have had a lot more help than just himself, and that he would always escape. And so Guillermo Lombardo, after tracking it down, you come to find out that Guillermo Lombardo was actually named Wilhelm, and William is Guillermo in Spanish, and his Lombardo was actually Lamport. So his name was William Lamport, and William Lamport was an Irishman whose parents were originally English but had been living in Ireland for many generations under their name of Lamport, and that he had gotten tied up with the Spanish during the Inquisition, and had come over here to Americas in Spain, and Spanish Americas in Mexico during the time of the Inquisition, to get away, but also to try to find his own way. And in the process, he tried to cause a revolution that would change the face of Mexico and pretty much the Americas today. And so the actual story of Zorro comes back to this man who's here was his original family crest, and he was avoiding persecution like this. And this is indeed a representation of him, and this is another that shows you that he had more fair looks probably than we want to give him credit for. And this is a youngster picture of him there, with his hair had turned brown. There's a notation that his hair had turned brown, and that whenever he was younger, he was a blonde-haired person. Now, he comes from Ireland by way of England, and is not even really a Spaniard at all. And by being chased from the church, and the persecution that was going on, he left, got with a pirate group for about 2 years, and then found himself boarding a ship and going to Mexico, getting in with this man here, which was a major in the army. And this is indeed a depiction of him during the time. And his hair browned after that and became much more curly and longer. And he was portrayed, he had changed his name to be a Spaniard after going through the Inquisition himself or whatever, trying to become part of that. And so here he is, where he gets a little older than the first picture there, but of course doesn't contain his beard. And then later he gets his beard going on, and he almost looks like the mayor of Munchkin City. And again, Irish roots.
In 17th century Mexico, the most feared and respected institution is the Inquisition. It kept meticulous records of its investigations. One of the characters recorded in the archives is Gian Lombardo. The accounts state that Lombardo traveled to Mexico in 1640. He was later arrested and put on trial by the Inquisition, and they reveal an intriguing detail about Lombardo's life. He is not Mexican or even Spanish. He is Irish. And his real name is William Lamport.
William Lamport may have been an influence on Macaulay's novel of Don Diego de la Vega, otherwise known as Zorro.
William Lamport is born in rural Wexford, Ireland in 1615. As a Catholic, Lamport faces persecution from the Protestant authorities. After 2 years on the high seas, Lamport jumps ship and makes his way to northern Spain, a country that is sympathetic to the Catholic Irish. Modern-day Mexico is one of Spain's most treasured colonies. Run by a Spanish viceroy, Spain's control over the distant colony is precarious. Olivares orders a mission to bring Mexico back under Spain's control. Lamport is sent on the mission as a spy.
Lamport was shocked by what he sees in Mexico. The slaves and the Indians were the majority of the society. They were very poor, very exploited, and in many cases killed.
Lamport is also disturbed by the corruption of the ruling Spanish elite.
Disillusioned by the corruption
They show him
of society
here
in
very
Spain,
Spanish looking.
he decides that he could do a better job.
But now this information is found out, that would have to look a lot different.
And, so he
and more
sets
like
his
that.
mind to revolution.
And he sets to revolution.
Lamport drafts a proclamation of independence. It still survives today and predates both the French and American revolutions by over a century.
His plan, in a way, seems so ahead of his own time.
The proclamation is the work of an educated man that outlines that slavery will be abolished, that the government will become an elected monarchy, and that Lamport himself will be king. This is his coat of arms, probably self-designed, with a harp in the lower left corner, symbolizing his Irish heritage.
And so the famous man from history that we know of helping Spain and Mexico separate and help to become what we know of as part of the Americas today was brought about by an Irishman who was seeking to free people from the oppression they had attempted to bring over to America in the first place. And indeed, he left his mark upon the world, the mark of Zorro.